Hey everybody, welcome back to the OffStudio where I get to talk about whatever I want to talk about because on Mondays it's my show and not JC's. So, we are going to talk about things that I've learned over the years. Now, quick disclaimer, and I'm going to say this beforehand so that people are completely prepared now. There's going to be a lot of tangents, there's going to be a lot of mix ups, there's going to be a lot of in there and everywhere, and there's probably going to be a lot of me trying to over explain something. So, saying that out now, because this is going to be, well, I prepared an outline, not a script, so we'll see how this goes, but let's see how comfortable I am in front of this camera and see what we can get out of this. But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in on my little spiel. It's allowing me to ramble, and if that's not your taste, then JC's ramble over on Wednesdays will be your gig. So enjoy that. But yeah, have fun. So things that I've learned over the years. I managed to make it specific to at least three things, and I'm gonna see if I can fit all three as much as I can because it's really hard to kind of play it all together for some reason. I don't know. I find it really interesting and really hard at the same time. So, point being, first one, forming archetypes by using a collection of traits and behaviors from the people that I have met over the years. So, what does that mean? Like what does that entail? What does that kind of play into the cards, let's say? So, archetypes, what are they? Now, archetypes, at least from how I understood it, is apparently like a collection of it's like basically a pattern, and you are assigning some form of identity to it. Now, I could be completely wrong. There's a dictionary somewhere, and I could probably use it, but right now we're not doing that today. So, the point that I wanted to make is a really good, or a couple actually, really wise INJs, an INFJ and an INTJ, both told me, hey, make a collection, make a mind map of all the people you've met that you've considered to be toxic. And once you have all those people, and then kind of branch out and put in traits of what you've noticed about them, and then look and see what traits do you find in common with all of those people. Therefore, you're creating yourself a pattern, like this identity of a person, that kind of is very that you could kind of use as a compass to realize why you don't agree with this person, why you don't get along with them. So that's kind of what I did. Not that I have created enemies in the past. I don't. It's actually really hard for me to kind of have that kind of negativity with people. But generally speaking, people that kind of rub me the wrong way, let's say, and made a huge collection about it, and I'm starting to notice. So, and yeah, like it was actually kind of very insightful to finally kind of put it all together, like connect the dots and realize just how much of certain people have such shared traits. Now, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit so you guys can understand the background of this. So, a reason why I really want to talk about things that I've learned over the years is because, as an ENFP, typologically speaking, how did I get from point A to point B? Were there struggles? Was it easy? Was it hard? And if it was hard, how did I get to it? So that's what I want to kind of bring into this convo, into this discussion of my Monday morning for you guys. But yeah, like point being, back to going back to the point of forming archetypes, that's a big thing of what I've used to now help me kind of navigate my way through people. If I've noticed that there's certain traits, like a collection of traits that this person's exhibiting, I now have like what do you call it, a repertoire, a database of people in from the past that I can now draw from, and I can create kind of these connections and parallels to the point where it is relatively easy to navigate them now. Now, again, to even point this out, it seems kind of problematic. It also seems kind of troublesome, to do all this work. But for a person such as myself, I kind of am wired for it, so that's not hard for me. Or let's say it's not just necessarily hard. It's something that I just normally instinctively do, regardless. So, I guess it's the price I pay for an FI user. Whether that is specific to FI or not is up for debate. But how has this affected, how does this helped me kind of move past where we're going? I would say that this particular thing that I've learned using this kind of model, or this internal FI framework value, whatever, has allowed me to basically it's kind of like a the metaphor I'm trying to imagine is, it's not a cell membrane. I'm thinking of like the siren, like an alert thing for when, like a warning signal that kicks in every time a person exhibits any of those traits, and it allows me to maintain a level of protection and guarding myself. Over the years, you kind of learn to value the energy you put into other people, the energy that you express onto others, the your time is really precious. So being able to handle that and being able to be aware, handling is another story, but being aware of what you put out into the world and being aware of what is going to be taken in and what's going to be used against you, having this pattern thing, that this little guideline when you want running around can at least cut you the slack, well, cut you the extra labor, let's say. So which kind of actually transitioned into one of my, I remember, okay, so backstory to this one is there was a Facebook post about like what are your unpopular F5 values, and so one of them was, at least for me, how I said it was, if you have a personal vendetta against a specific function, if you have a personal vendetta against a type, a function, a whatever, like I already know that we're not going to be friends, because a personal vendetta to me implies that you're biased or that you've compromised yourself in the quest for, I guess, typology, transcendence, or insightfulness, or all that kind of stuff. Because if you're hating, or if you have a major dislike toward one specific type, it means it's saying to me that either you haven't done your homework, or you've only met a very limited pool of people, or you just haven't been able to conceptualize that personality is merely the scratching the surface of a human identity, and it's not yet enough. So it grows beyond that. So that's why it's like a big thing for me, to notice if you are or not having a vendetta, because we got to be careful about that kind of stuff. Moving past this to my second point of what I've learned over the years, huge appreciation, taking this moment to have a huge appreciation moment for the people in my life who've helped me. A big part of where I'm at is, and a big part of actually cultivating any form of, how would I put this, like ego fixing, unlearning the biases that we've come into our lives. A big part of that is giving credit where credit is due. And I think that's a really big part of my personal growth, at least. I think I have a tendency to want to keep things for myself. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but there is like a habit of, I mean, as a 7, my vice is gluttony, so it's like consuming in the conceptual sense, aside from just physical consumption. But part of my consumption thing is, eating too much and not really giving credit and not giving like appreciation necessarily. Now that particular half of that statement may not relate to all 7s, but I keep forgetting, at least for myself, how I need to at least express some gratitude to the people in my life who've helped me, because at least from how I see it, I've never really reached a lot of the things that I have without someone's help along the way. And for the people who are my close friends, the people who found like my tribe or whatever, they know this about me, that I'm very, how do I put this? I'm not as expressive as I tend to be like online like this. I'm not really online, I kind of market myself as like this personality of this is me, blah blah blah. But in real, like when the cameras are off and stuff, I'm a lot more chill, for how it is. I mean, there's I say that, but then like half of me doesn't believe it. It's like, really, you're chill for half when cameras are off? Sometimes I'm not, so there's that. But yeah, point being is that a big moment right now to say thank you to the people who have been there. Like even the folks that I say, didn't really work out necessarily, like as a relationship wise. Like if it didn't work out, it's not so much as a loss. It's how I've kind of reframed it. I see it as, because like for example, the INTJ that I met, she helped me learn how to do my taxes. So even if things fizzled out and we're not friends anymore, I have something to take away from that's been a positive thing. How I am now with, let's say, my personal aesthetics, my style, my how domesticated I act in the SI, I have to credit that to one, my parents, and also my friends. And taking this moment now to say, like, my best friends right now is, and I say this all the time, I feel like I've said this many times in every video. I have an ESFJ best friend and an ESTP best friend. So they have been very, how do I put this, instrumental in my growth process. I feel like they're also the people who I've welcomed into this FI place of mine and have been there to witness all my little, all the ugly, but also all the fun. And also a lot of the major milestones. It's funny because I feel like we've shared it, but I feel like I've also reached certain milestones as well that they've been witness to. They got to see me for what I am as a product, rather like the production, the results of all the hard work, and they get to enjoy it too. And I think that's actually really fun, and it's also a vice versa situation. So like, what makes them awesome? Well, with the ESFJ, she's so thoughtful and considerate. Like, this girl, she loves so hard. This girl is like major in that department. And there's always like a level of, I can never match that level of love because I don't always put all my eggs in one basket, but I love that there's a person out there who is that. And that's fantastic to look at. This person she's not afraid to get her hands dirty, but she doesn't like to advertise that. But she's very like, I can pull my sleeves up and I can put to work. And, it's funny to me. Because another thing is that I like about this person is she's also very underestimated certain times. Like, people either overestimate or underestimate, and they can't seem to understand like who she really is. And it's so amazing to like keep people on their toes. So I'm super all about that. Like, her dad's an ENTP, so you gotta like hand it to her for being completely exposed to a life of unpredictability. So like, work it. And then the ESTP, coolest guy ever. I feel like I've never seen him. How do I put it? Like, you can never really bother him at all. I feel like he's immune to like a lot of things in life, and I think that's actually really awesome about him. And I think another part is you can never really guess his chart properly because people could always like, oh yeah, I don't know, because he's a 6, he's a core 6, and so it's one of those tough ones. And by the time when I figured it out, I was like, oh my goodness, this is really cool of a combo. Man's always prepared, man's always ready for like anything, and he's also incredibly kind, almost to a fault. And I'm gonna pull it out there and like call him out. Like, yes, you are really, really kind to a fault, and it's an honor to be your friend and to really be a witness to your kind of, what is it, generosity. Man, it's like, I would say it's borderline crazy how good he is at what he does. So this kind of like, I'm putting that for like the close ones. Now, moving to the online folks, I would say that my online folks is also a rare share of really cool people. You got yourselves, I got myself like an ENFJ, like a good couple of them. There's also like an ENFP. Like, almost all of my intuitive relations have been online, and I think it's because we tend to kind of congregate online because life's hard for intuitives. And I think I wouldn't be where I am online wise without having met the people who have your best interests at heart. That's a tough one to find. That's a tough one to kind of like expose yourself to, because there's such a huge, I would say this definitely, there's a huge risk about putting yourself out there in the online world. And, you might meet people who will try to like cheat you out of something, or will like, take time out of their day to kind of mess you up and like ruin your day. And I think that's incorrect to find those people, and it's also very rare. I would consider myself incredibly fortunate to find these folks, and you guys know who you are, online people, who've kind of, you see me for me, and then I see you for you, and there's no sense of like jealousy, there's no sense of competition, there's no sense of like, oh, I'm gonna get you back or get you evil. Like, it's none of that at all, and it's fantastic. So for that, I gotta give you props, and I gotta give you like, whoop whoop for that life, right? Yas. Moving on to the third point of this 3-piece attempt at trying to try to make specifics for this vlog of mine. So, okay, third point that I've learned about over the years. I know I marketed myself as a cynical idealist, and I think that's been a recurring kind of running gag between this channel. And while that is a case, it is merely a facet. I feel like there is I don't know, like I feel like it's something of a notion that people need to like understand that, you know, there's more to people than meets the eye, obviously. And while there is some truth to me being cynical, it's not necessarily the complete sense. I mean, I gotta thank Kersey for that whole little, I don't know, I read this like paragraph about like how, oh, a cynic is really just a hurt idealist, which let's be real, sure, you know, it's we've been there. But to continue on about what it is to mean who I am and why I come off the way that I am, I think that a lot of it is being protective of that FI person. And I don't know if other FI users can relate to that in some way. I even think that a lot of even low stack FI who may not always know what they are feeling inside or whatever may still have this notion of they need to like protect something of themselves within, you know. And I feel like that's a big part of what makes us who we are. And to be where I am now, I mean, I know I just talked about it earlier, like, you know, creating these archetypes, creating values within to give me some sense of navigation, while also thanking and giving credit to the people in my life who've helped me kind of along this route to go where I am now. I think another one to add to that is to understand the compromises that we make as humans. I feel like that's really important to, you can see me thinking about it right now. It's the compromises that we do. Like, I feel like, you know, we may think first that there are some things that you're like, no, I'm gonna go down without a fight. Like, I ain't gonna go down without a fight or whatever. But that's not necessarily the point I wanted to come across. I feel like, you know, acknowledging that the existence of reality, that other people have their own kind of projections, they have their own, they're equipped with their own self identities, whatever, and we're merely just trying to share a planet while exchanging these little things. You know, coming to terms with that is, at least for me, has definitely helped how I've viewed other people. I think I'm not entirely sure if this has been mentioned on this channel before, or if I mentioned in some other post, but I vaguely kind of remember it, where the point I wanted to come up with this is when, you know, when you acknowledge the FI of others around you, when you respect that other people have their own kind of collections of scars and trophies and all that stuff, it kind of makes, well, it makes it less intimidating. At least that's how I see it. It's less scary, it's less annoying, I'm less judgmental. You know, I like to market myself as kind of a judgy person, because mostly for comedic value, and I feel like that is definitely what I'm going to do. It's fun, to be honest, but in reality, you know, when you apply the realistic components of what it means to be me, you can't just do that all the time. And I feel like a lot of the stability that I've been hunting for and looking for is slowly kind of unearthing itself the more I pay attention to the fact that we are all different. You know, I've said it before, typology is like a celebration of everyone's differences. So keeping that in mind, reminding yourself that there is the mental capacity, that there is more to life than just your perspective, just your worldview, is, I think, very important. And understanding that other people are like, no, we're not the same as you, is okay. You know, like, it's okay that, because in a way, no one's going through what I'm going through, and vice versa, right? And I don't know, I feel like as an FP myself, you know, going through life, I could be insecure. Let's put it that way. I could be very upset about a lot of things, and I could be, you know, I could lash out, and I could probably create a million different reasons why this is not going to work out, or why I don't like this, and blah blah that, blah blah this. You can't let yourself have space like that. At least that's how I feel. I can't give myself the space to think and let myself believe that I am a certain way when, you know, another person's perspective of me could be completely different. So I'm going to leave it at that. You know, we're going to leave it with that, and I believe I got my point across. That I'm not sure, but that's again a typical of moi. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this little ramble of mine. Until next time, catch up on JC's on Wednesday. But lots of things coming down the pipe. It's funny because I'm like excited. I want to share some news and updates and everything, but I don't want to just yet because there's a lot of things that needs to happen. So, with that being said, till next time. And if you have any questions for me to tackle on this in another vlog somewhere or another episode of the OffStudio with moi, leave a comment. Maybe I'll refer to it. Anyways, thanks guys. Bye.